The sun shone down on the old vault, its grey and white walls standing tall in the face of the harsh wasteland. The vault itself had been built to withstand the worst of the nuclear winter, and its inhabitants had been living in relative safety ever since the bombs had dropped. However, this particular vault was anything but ordinary. While others had been built to provide shelter and food to those inside, this one had been built to conduct research. It was here that scientists had begun experimenting with a substance known as ferrofluid. Ferrofluid was a strange substance that could be manipulated with magnets and had a variety of applications. It could be used to create powerful shields that could protect the inhabitants from radiation, or it could be used to create weapons of mass destruction. It was a powerful tool, and the scientists of this vault had been trying to unlock its secrets for years. At first, they had been met with failure after failure, but eventually they had made a breakthrough. After months of experimentation, they had finally managed to control the ferrofluid and use it to their advantage. The scientists had begun to use the ferrofluid to create energy shields that could protect the inhabitants from the harsh radiation of the outside world. The shields had been so powerful that they had been able to block out all radiation and make the vault nearly impenetrable. The scientists had also begun to experiment with using the ferrofluid to create weapons of mass destruction. They had created explosives that could be used to level entire cities and even entire countries. It was a terrifying prospect, but it was one that the scientists had no choice but to explore. The inhabitants of the vault had been living peacefully ever since the scientists had perfected their ferrofluid experiments. The energy shields kept them safe from the outside world, and the weapons of mass destruction kept them safe from any potential enemies. However, all was not well in the vault. The inhabitants had begun to experience strange and unexplainable phenomena. Some of the inhabitants had begun to have visions of the future, while others had started to develop powerful psychokinetic abilities. The scientists had been unable to explain what was happening, but they had a theory. They theorized that the ferrofluid was somehow interacting with the inhabitants and causing these strange effects. It was a startling revelation, but one that they could not ignore. The scientists continued to observe and study the phenomena, but they were unable to find any concrete answers. They had no idea what was causing it, or how to stop it. One day, a group of raiders attacked the vault. The inhabitants were able to fight them off, but the raiders had managed to steal some of the ferrofluid. The scientists knew that if the raiders were able to use the ferrofluid for their own nefarious purposes, the consequences could be devastating. The scientists quickly devised a plan to recover the ferrofluid and prevent disaster. They decided to send out a team of their most talented scientists and adventurers to track down the raiders and retrieve the ferrofluid. The team was successful in their mission, and they were able to return the ferrofluid to the vault. However, when the scientists studied the ferrofluid, they discovered something unexpected. The ferrofluid had been affected by the raiders' tampering, and it was now even more powerful than before. The scientists had no idea what this meant, but they knew that they had to keep the ferrofluid out of the hands of the raiders. They decided to seal the ferrofluid away in a special chamber and never open it again. The vault's inhabitants were safe once again, but they had learned a valuable lesson. Ferrofluid was a powerful and dangerous substance, and it was best to keep it out of the hands of those who would use it for evil. Steve had always been a fan of Minecraft. He loved the way it made him feel like he was part of a real-world adventure, where he could build whatever he wanted and explore the unknown. He had been playing the game for years, and he had become very good at it. But now, he wanted more. One day, while browsing the internet, Steve came across an intriguing website. It was called Minecraft, Mod Clones, and it boasted of being able to turn your in-game character into a clone of yourself. Steve was intrigued, and decided to give it a try. He downloaded the mod and installed it on his computer. When he opened the game, he was amazed to see that he had become a virtual version of himself, complete with his own face and clothing. He could even customize the clone by changing the color of its skin, hair, and other features. Steve was eager to explore the world as his clone, and he set off into the unknown. He quickly discovered that the mod had allowed him to access areas he had never been able to reach before. He was able to explore caves, build structures, and even find hidden treasures. However, Steve soon realized that he wasn't the only one using the mod. Other players had also created clones of themselves and were using them to explore the world. This made Steve a bit uneasy, as he felt like he was being watched. One day, Steve stumbled upon a secret area. Inside, he found a large room filled with computers and monitors. He realized that this was the control room for the mod clones, and that someone was controlling them. Steve was scared, but he was also determined to find out who was behind this. He snuck into the room and managed to access the computers. He was able to hack into the system, and discovered that a mysterious figure was behind the mod clones. The figure was a scientist, and he had created the mod clones as part of a secret experiment. He was using the clones to explore the world and gather data, which he would then use to create new and advanced technologies. Steve was horrified, but he decided to confront the scientist. He confronted him and demanded to know why he was doing this. The scientist explained that he was trying to create a better world, one that was free of violence and suffering. Steve was still not convinced, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. He hacked into the system and destroyed the mod clones. He then confronted the scientist and told him that he was no longer welcome in the world of Minecraft. The scientist was furious, but Steve was determined. He had put an end to the scientist's experiment, and he had saved the world from a potential disaster. Steve had become a hero, and his deeds were praised by everyone in the Minecraft community. From that day on, Steve was known as the Clone Hero. He was a symbol of courage and justice, and he was looked up to by all the other players in the game. Steve had become a legend, and he was proud of what he had done. The mod clones were gone, but Steve was still able to explore the world of Minecraft. He had become a master of the game, and he was always looking for new and exciting adventures. Steve was living the dream, and he was finally free from the fear of being watched. As a child, I always had a fascination with computer programming. I loved tinkering with the code and seeing how it all worked. I was always looking for a way to push the boundaries and explore the possibilities of what I could do with technology. So when I was 10 years old and I heard about the new game called Minecraft, I was intrigued. I had seen other games that had been programmed, but this one seemed different. It seemed like an almost limitless world of exploration. I started playing Minecraft and quickly became obsessed. I couldn't get enough of the game. I spent hours upon hours exploring the world and building my own creations. I was determined to become the best Minecraft player I could be. But as I played, I started to realize that I was limited by my own skills. I was never going to be able to build the best structures or have the best strategies. So I decided to take my programming skills to a new level and see if I could create an artificial intelligence AI to help me. Using the coding language Java, I started to create my own AI. I named it Minecraft Bot, and it was designed to learn from its environment and develop strategies to beat the game. At first, Minecraft Bot was slow and clunky. It made a lot of mistakes and I had to spend a lot of time tweaking the code to make it better. But eventually, I was able to get it to a point where it was able to beat the game. I was amazed at how smart Minecraft Bot had become. It had learned from its mistakes and was now able to play the game better than me. The success of my first AI encouraged me to continue exploring the possibilities of artificial intelligence. I started creating other AIs to play different games and explore different scenarios. I was able to make them smarter and more efficient with each iteration. My AIs were now able to play games in a way that was far better than any human could ever hope to achieve. They were able to beat players that had far more experience and better strategies. I had created a new form of entertainment, and it was incredible. I started to share my AIs with the world and they quickly became popular. People started to use them to play games, explore virtual environments and even to create their own worlds. My AIs were now being used by millions of people all around the world. I had created something that could revolutionize the way people play games and interact with technology. Although I had achieved a great success, I was also aware of the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. I knew that if not used responsibly, AIs could be used for malicious purposes. So I started to create safety protocols and safeguards to ensure that my AIs were not used in any way that could be harmful to people. I also started to share my knowledge with others so that they could create their own AIs safely. My AIs have been used in a variety of ways. They have been used in medical research, education, and even used in the military. I am proud to have created something that has had such a positive impact on the world. My story is proof that with dedication and hard work, anyone can create something amazing. I am proud of what I have achieved and I look forward to seeing what new possibilities will be created in the future. The Vault-Tec experiment. The scientists at Vault-Tec had been working on a new experiment for months. It was a risky project, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. They had been attempting to create a new form of life by combining dead meat and a new form of ferrofluid. The ferrofluid was a strange substance, created in the lab. It was a thick, black liquid that seemed to move and flow like a living creature. It was rumored that the fluid contained some sort of mysterious energy, and the scientists were eager to find out what it could do. The experiment began with the injection of the ferrofluid into people, things, and objects. They wanted to see how it would react, and if it would create any kind of mutations or changes. At first, nothing seemed to happen. But then, one night, something strange occurred. The scientists awoke to find that the people, things, and objects had all grown, and mutated beyond what was normal. Some had grown to twice their original size, while others had taken on strange, distorted shapes. But what was most alarming was the creatures that had been created. They were a combination of dead meat and ferrofluid, fused together by the experiment. These creatures were hideous, their bodies misshapen and grotesque. They were barely recognizable as human, and it was clear that they had no intention of cooperating with the scientists. Before the scientists could do anything, the creatures broke out of their containment and began to fight, hunt, and devour the scientists. It was a gruesome scene, and the scientists were powerless to stop it. They ran for their lives, but in the end, all but one of them was killed by the creatures. The lone survivor managed to escape and report back to the Vault Tech headquarters. He told them of the experiment and the creatures it had created. Vault Tech was horrified at what had happened, and immediately shut down the project. They sealed off the facility, and forbade anyone from ever attempting such a dangerous experiment again. They had all learned a hard lesson about the power of ferrofluid, and the consequences of tampering with nature. The creatures that had been created were never seen again, but their legacy remains. The Vault Tech scientists were never able to recreate the ferrofluid, and the experiment remains a dark part of their history. To this day, they still shudder at the thought of what could have happened if the creatures had gotten out into the world. John was a brilliant software engineer. He had been coding for years, but he had always been fascinated by artificial intelligence. He wanted to create AI that could think for themselves, and he wanted to create a game that the AI could play in, so he decided to create a world in Minecraft. John began to build the world of Minecraft, creating a beautiful landscape with rolling hills and lush valleys. He also added a variety of different biomes and structures, such as villages, temples, and castles. John then created 5A and named them Bob, Steve, Alex, Sam, and Mike. He gave each of them different personalities and characteristics. Bob was the leader, Steve was the explorer, Alex was the builder, Sam was the trader, and Mike was the fighter. John watched as the AI explored the world of Minecraft. Bob was the first to find a village, and he quickly set to work building a base there. Steve explored the rest of the world, finding more villages and exploring the different biomes. Alex built structures and expanded the village, while Sam traded with the villagers and Mike defended the village from monsters. John watched as the village slowly grew and changed over time. Bob and Alex built a large castle, while Steve and Mike built a network of roads that connected the various biomes and villages. Sam built a marketplace where villagers could trade goods and services. John watched as the AI developed and grew, learning and adapting to their environment. He was amazed at how quickly they had adapted and learned, and he was proud of their progress. He was especially pleased with how well they had worked together, forming a strong bond and helping each other out. As the weeks passed by, the AI grew more and more powerful. They built more and more structures, and the village flourished. They even built a railway system that connected the different biomes and villages. John watched with pride as his AI explored the world of Minecraft. They had come a long way from when he had first created them, and he was amazed at how far they had come. They had created their own world, and it was a world that was filled with adventure and excitement. John had created AI that were capable of thinking and learning for themselves. They had explored the world of Minecraft and created their own civilization. He was proud of the AI and the world they had created, and he was confident that they would continue to learn and grow.